Hello? I'm cold and there are wolves after me.
As a writer, director, and connoisseur of excellent eyewear, George A. Romero was enormously influential, but rarely a breakout success story. His iconic debut found itself in the public domain as a result of a clerical copyright snafu, ensuring he barely saw a dime for all but inventing zombie cinema, after which he spent much of his 40-year career hustling for even the most minuscule budgets, with only Creepshow and The Dead trilogy offering any hearty taste of box office glory. In 1973, dirt broke and 5 years out from the rejuvenating spark of Dawn of the Dead, Romero did what creatives do when the going gets tough. He muscled up some freelance gigs just to get by. The first, a sports documentary series called The Winners, and the second, a commissioned piece for the Lutheran Service Society, who hired the horror maestro to shoot an educational short emphasizing the plight of ageism in America. With a few $1,000s, a 3-day shoot, and a supporting cast of volunteers from local care facilities, for whom the location work on this film was their only outdoor social activity in years, Romero delivered his financiers, the Amusement Park. A fidgety hellscape that shook these Lutherans so completely, they cancelled any and all promotion before permanently shelving the finished product. Almost half a century later, this long-lost work has been rescued from oblivion by the late Romero's estate, dusted off with a 4K restoration, and released to the world by the streaming platform Shudder. But is the amusement park a buried treasure, or discarded trash? When going into this experience, it's important to consider that, regardless of the significance assigned to it as a long-lost reel of cinematic history, this was never meant for commercial release or mass consumption. The amusement park was put together as a public service announcement by way of a PR gimmick, meant to call attention to the abuses suffered by the elderly. A fact made abundantly clear by a prologue in which our lead actor Lincoln Maisel introduces the feature and primes the audience with a stirring monologue that expressly states many of the themes to follow.
The amusement park which you are about to visit illustrates some of the many problems people of my age face on a daily basis. We intend for you to feel the problem, to experience it, and we ask for your sympathy as you watch.
From here, we're ushered into the fractured confusion of our unnamed protagonist. As the ominous ticks and gongs of an unseen clock crackle through the speakers, the man sits bloodied and beaten in a purgatorial room. Visibly distraught and all but destroyed by a world we've yet to see, he's greeted by an optimistic, clean-cut version of himself.
Tell me, would you like to do something? No. Do you ever go outside? There's nothing outside.
The crushing fear of our own mortality and the hope of one's twilight years in brutal contrast. At which point we take off after the less weary of the two as he steps into the nightmare logic of the park. Immediately, the amusement park feels as though it's a missing link between the obtuse psychedelic horror of something like Kwaidan and the disorienting blend of normality and absurdity David Lynch would later go on to perfect. Old age here is depicted as an overload of twisted familiarity, wherein a time and place of carefree abandon become a cacophonous blur of pain and confusion. The park is a scathing rebuke of the ghettoization and violation of those who, having spent a lifetime accumulating knowledge, wisdom and experience, simply wish for an epilogue of respect and civility. Unfortunately, there's no such hope to be found in the park, with just about every encounter this man has representing a different indignity endured by the aged. The attendees are forced to trade what little time and memories they have to secure admittance to this curious but uncertain place. Their long varied lives reduced to a question of financial security and the perception of what remains of their societal worth. Even still, there's no guarantee that frugality and caution will afford to these people the bliss of retirement. Bumper cars require extensive eye exams before you can get behind the wheel, and come monitored by traffic cops who threaten to strip the licenses of any motorist they deem to be over the hill. The loss of autonomy and day-to-day liberty, yet another splintering crack in the hourglass. Concession stalls stand in for everyday restaurants and grocery stores. Those with money, health, and means are catered and cared for, even though they could quite easily look after themselves. Those in genuine need of attentive care are served slop, forced to fight over the scraps, and then snubbed. The waiters' cartoonish props and pantomiming expressions, each a pointed jab at the infantilization of the elderly and how ludicrous ageism is. Later on, a young couple asks a fortune teller to show them a peek of their future selves.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we want to know if we're still going to be together.
Only to glimpse a miserable life of crooked landlords, run-down apartments, and doctors who'd rather see them die than continue to watch them use up hospital resources. If all the metaphors and symbolism seem glaringly obvious for a short film about the harsh realities of getting old and the horrors behind grey-haired subsistence, that's because they are. Yet, I don't see their on-the-nose nagging as a negative. For all its ragged, opaque presentation, this was intended as a call to action on behalf of the Lutheran Service Society, not an art house experiment to be picked apart by blazer-wearing scholarly wankers like me. Also, for all his talents and tenacity, George A. Romero was never one to obscure his social conscience with subtlety. In skewering 60s paranoia and the Vietnam conflict, he accidentally crafted a poignant polemic about racism.
All right, Vince, hit him in the head, right between the eyes. Good shot. Okay, he's dead. Let's go get him. That's another one for the fire.
Then he went after the Kent State shootings, personal disassociation and the pains of intimacy, consumerism and the inevitable collapse of late-stage capitalism, Cold War tensions and militaristic incompetence, classism and social stratification. Each as blunt as a bullet to the head, but losing none of their powers of provocation as a result of Romero's commitment to their what you see is what you get intellectual accessibility. The amusement park is no different. At one point, the unnamed man of advanced age rejects a convalescent facility, masquerading as an inviting attraction, full of archaic exercise equipment and rusty wheelchairs. It's nearly impossible to mistake Romero's intent. There's a lingering, inescapable loneliness that seeps and swallows every frame. It's a despairing isolation that leaves him savaged and solitary in the same sterile white space he started. A closed loop of inescapable torment as time marches onwards. The amusement park is a mercifully brief, uncomfortable watch by design. It's a needle in the eye of snake oil salesmen and shysters who prey on senior citizens. An unblinking stare at the passers-by who gawk for amusement at their once proud elders. What's truly surprising about this fundraising PSA Romero slapped together for a woefully unsuspecting organisation is just how timely its recent rediscovery feels. The last decade has seen something of a resurgence of movies wading through the horrors of old age. The likes of Amour, The Taking of Deborah Logan, Relic, and The Father, each offering harrowing, albeit more nuanced and refined takes on the monstrous ravages of time. This uncovered rarity feels like a forgotten branch of the same family tree. Romero isn't pulling any punches with this terrifying warning.
Consider now that the man in the amusement park is a mirror image of yourself, separated only by the passage of time.
Be mindful of the elderly. Be considerate of their needs without being condescending. And may we foster a culture of kindness towards those in the autumn of their existence. Because wherever we end up once the ride stops, each of us will have to find our own way through the amusement park. A cozy chair by a warm fireplace for our Patreon producers Jennifer C, Claire MD, Becky O, and Nicholas Lerevere, and a bag of inexplicably rock-hard candy for all these amazing folks who support us over on Patreon. What do you think the best film that deals with growing older is? And what are your personal favourite films by George A. Romero? Let us know down in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed, you click the like button, the bell, and write a little something down there, because it all really helps push these videos out to more folks. Or if you're in a position to do so, consider checking out our Patreon in the description below, where you can get your name in the credits, access to our private Discord, and a membership to the In Frame Out Film Club. As always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, this is In Frame Out.